Andor is the best thing to come out of Star Wars since Disney bought it. Take back any sequel, any prequel, take back Rebels, take back Kenobi, you could even take back Solo for all I care, take it all away and just give me 4 more seasons of this. I'm still in awe because up to this point, the Disney Star Wars track record hasn't been great. I don't really like Kenobi and then they drop this. And I'll be honest, I only really started Andor like a week ago. The actual name Andor wasn't really working for me. We watched Rogue One on the channel a few months ago and Andor was kind of a nothing burger, but it was still Star Wars, and you know me, biggest Star Wars nerd around. I watched the first episode and I just kind of sat there trying to understand what just happened. Are we finally getting good Star Wars? And then I watched the next episode, and then the next, and then the next, and it just got better and better. This is an anomaly. This isn't Star Wars, because we all know Disney Star Wars was never supposed to be this good. Never in a million years would I have thought Disney would try something a bit different. And it's kind of hilarious how the best Star Wars we've gotten in years doesn't feel like Star Wars at all. There are no lightsabers, there are no Jedi or Sith. The closest connection to any of that is a kyber crystal. But hey, I'm not complaining. It kind of feels refreshing not seeing a lightsaber. The shots themselves feel out of the ordinary for Star Wars. Like, this feels more like Blade Runner than Star Wars. This is more of a sci-fi show than a Star Wars show. The cinematography feels fresh, like something we haven't seen before. And surely I wasn't expecting it from one of these shows. Alongside the CGI, which actually looks pretty good. None of the effects look cheap. They actually had the time and the budget to polish it up and make it look good. There's so much retro looking tech. Like, look at these consoles or this TV or this outfit. They dive deep into the retro futurism aesthetic where things look futuristic but also retro at the same time. You get it? The retro futurism. Anyway, the best part of it all, Potty Mouth is now canon. From the opening shot, you know this is gonna be different. Let me be frank, this is just a better version of Rogue One. Take that movie, strip away the comedy, all the forced mumbo jumbo, add in actual characters with compelling stories, build on the already pretty great cinematography, add in some fire music, and make it 12 episodes, and this is what you get. This series is pretty ruthless. There aren't very many good characters. There's a side you should be rooting for, but even they are not great people. In the first scene, we see Andor executing a guy. Like, this is gonna be pretty heavy. The show feels unhinged, like it doesn't have to follow the Disney rulebook anymore and it could do whatever it wants. Honestly, I'm getting kind of sick of seeing the Empire. Like, it's becoming kind of too much. We have season 7 of the Clone Wars, then we have Bad Batch, and then Solo, and then Rebels, and then Rogue One, and now this. This is like the 4th time I've seen the birth of the rebellion, and I'm really over it. I want them to explore other eras of Star Wars. This middle chunk between episodes 3 and 4 is getting milked dry. I need something new, something fresh. I am tired of seeing stormtroopers, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be slowing down anytime soon. So the only new project I'm kind of interested in is Acolyte, because it doesn't take place in the same era. The first few episodes of Andor are kind of slow compared to the rest of the season. In these beginning episodes, they slip in flashbacks of Cassian as a kid, but these aren't to build up his character, but instead to introduce these new characters. These flashbacks don't exactly link up to what he said in Rogue One.
I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
They kind of change his upbringing. He looks a bit older than 6 when he was kidnapped, and he's not exactly a rebel. He's more of a poor person. Do I care though? No. Let's be honest. It's a TV show. Andor's story can really be split up into 3 separate stories. The opening, where he's on the run from the cops, the second being the actual heist, and then the third being the prison breakout. Each time it switches, we get an entirely different lineup of characters. And if you can believe it, this show is not just about Andor. We have these separate side characters that are woven around Cassian. In other depictions of the Empire, they talk about how bad it is, but it's never enough to impose that image into you, because the heroes always get away. The Empire felt like a background sort of evil, one that you can just sort of avoid, you don't really have to worry about because they're all clumsy. And Andor takes that and completely flips it, and I think that can be attributed to showing both sides of the coin. One plotline is from the point of view of an Imperial official, but not just any random official, not one that can be bribed or bought, but a dedicated loser who lives and breathes the Empire. This is like the first time we've ever seen the inside of the Star Wars version of the CIA. We get to see the real inner workings of the Empire. You see what they're doing, and then we cut to Cassian to see how the things the Empire's doing is affecting him. The series takes the time to show how corrupt the Empire is. Every other scene is someone getting bribed or acting in their own self-interest. And the other side of this is portraying how terrible life would be under the Empire. They managed to make the Empire genuinely feel oppressive. I was shaking in my boots thinking about the circumstances. Take Cassian for example. This dude was chilling on some vacation planet and he gets arrested because of, well, nothing. He got 6 years for nothing. He didn't get arrested for the huge heist he just committed, but for literally standing around. They talk about having an arrest quota that officials need to reach. They want to arrest people. I like how we're finally seeing spies be used how spies would be used. I like how the Empire is monitoring Mon Mothma, how her driver is a spy. No one can be trusted. Every Star Wars show has tried to go for that rugged, poor slum look, and I think this is the first one that pulls it off. In that regard, it follows in the footsteps of Rogue One, with that pretty grimy look. Andor is all about contrast. In the middle, we have the Andor storyline, and on each side, we have the two opposing forces. We get to see the upper echelons of society on Coruscant versus down in the mud. We have Luthen and Mon Mothma trying to build a rebellion under the constant gaze of the Empire, and then on the flip side, we have the Empire Lady and then the crazy Empire Cuck Lord. This is their show as much as it is Andor's, and that's really my biggest complaint. The name. Apparently Andor is slacking on viewership compared to the rest, and I think that's probably because of the name. Not too many people really care about Andor, and I'm one of them. That was me. I did that. They develop his character here a lot, but if people aren't watching this show, then the only other impression they have of him is from Rogue One, and let's be honest, they don't really do anything with his character there. But if you are not watching peak Star Wars because of the name, I don't care about Andor, I'm such a loser, oh my god. Here, let me change the name for you. Star Peak Wars. Stop being a massive loser and go watch this show. There's also a lot of Easter eggs sprinkled in. Episode 4 was just one long Easter egg. There's so many little things in Luthen's shop, like the Starkiller armor or the holocrons. And there's also a Rakatan Empire reference.
Celebrates the uprising against the Rakatan invaders.
Like, that's a thing now. They could make a series about that. Up to this point, I always thought that was Legends. But now, the possibilities are endless. Andor takes its time to build up certain events. Like the heist took 2 episodes to truly build up. And once it actually happened, it was tense. The scenes had weight to them. And the episodes don't have constant action, but when it does, it's pretty solid. The heist felt anxious because the Empire is actually menacing. Like, once it started, it was doomed to go downhill. And like that, almost the entire heist group gets murked. Cassian and the leader were the only ones to make it out alive. A big thing in this show is tension, and letting that tension naturally grow. When I say they do suspense right, I mean it. Take for example the 3rd episode where the police dudes start coming out and all the villagers start banging on their metal. They start going ham. That constant noise just lingers throughout the rest of the episode, and it goes on and on. Constant clanging, go clank, 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 clank. You hear it all the time. And once we get to a certain point, the streets grow quiet. The police dudes are waiting for Andor to come out. They're getting in their positions. They're ready. And then the mom has this cryptic dialogue about the clanging stopping. And you hear clank, 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 clank. And then all of a sudden, the clanking stops. No music, no nothing. Silence. You're just on the edge of your seat, just waiting for something huge to happen. And there's no way this show could have worked if it was 6 episodes. This is the new standard for Star Wars. These shows have to be at least 8 to 12 episodes for them to be, good. This show is gritty. No, not that one. It doesn't slap on that Disney coat of paint. It's a different side of Star Wars we really haven't seen before. Same with the prison. It doesn't feel like a simple Rebels breakout. This is dark, even for Star Wars. Having zap floors that fry people is an insane concept. But what makes it worse is that this is a labor camp. So if you do bad and your team does the least amount of work, your whole group gets zapped. You have to constantly stick to the program or you get zapped. You try to leave your bed at night. You don't get zapped, you get fried. Each floor has their own manager who themselves is a prisoner, and everyone is just counting down their sentences. But the big twist is, once you finish your sentence and you're supposed to be freed, they just send you away to another prison, in secret, giving the illusion of freedom when in reality, you're never getting out. And the Empire even fried an entire floor of workers when word started to spread. I like this. Just do your work. Count down your days and you'll be gone. And they also count down their sentences in shifts, which was a nice touch. I like that. But Kino, he is the devoted worker. He will stick to the program. He will do his time. This guy would not even allow the thought of a prison break. But once everything started coming undone and the mischievous intentions of the Empire is revealed, he as a character breaks. Everything he believed in was a lie and no one was getting out. They gave a reason for him to turn. I love that so much. When I watched the trailers, I didn't really know if the scientist dude from Thor was gonna acclimate well to the Star Wars universe. Boy, was I wrong. At the end of one of the episodes, he gives this powerful monologue about his sacrifices for the rebellion, and it's genuinely brilliant. He won't be remembered for what he does. He must be selfless for the greater good of the galaxy. It's one of the best scenes in the entire season. Actually, no. When Luthen deploys his lightsabers and does a Darth Maul spin through TIE fighters, now that is the best scene. And on top of all of this, there was like no humor. It is serious almost the entire time. Never did I feel thrusted out of the show because of some cheesy joke. The finale, albeit a bit slow, wrapped everything up pretty nicely with a little thread hanging at the end for the start of a new season. This show was set 5 years before Rogue One, and I think they could do 4 more seasons leading up to the very start of it. Having Luthen take Andor under his wing, trying to build a new rebellion with this new lens of the genuinely gritty, intense Star Wars that feels unhinged from the shackles of the Disney filter, come on, that could quite possibly be the best Star Wars ever created. And I don't care if it doesn't feel like Star Wars. What does that even mean? You just want to see lightsabers. Shut up. Most of the galaxy is just this show. Not everything has to have some flashy lightsaber. Now we know why Disney was stingy with Kenobi. They were just trying to pump all the money, all the time into this show. Andor is a 9 out of 10. Peak Star Wars. Very good. We like.